Hello students! In this video, I'm basically just going to explain how to complete this week's assessment. So go ahead and access the assessment in the same exact way that you've accessed every prior assessment throughout the semester. Click on the assessment in the corresponding course week folder and then download the attached Word document. Now what you're going to find once you have downloaded this Word document is that you have two pages. The second page is basically going to ask you to write a few sentences reviewing the activity which you will complete on the first page. The second page is also going to provide a sort of rudimentary rubric giving you a general indication of how I am going to grade your completion of this project. One thing I do want to emphasize is that it is critically important that you follow directions for this assessment. That means that you should have watched this video and very carefully applied the step-by-step instructions I'm about to provide to you in your completion of the assessment. So let's go ahead and delve into the actual process of completing this assessment. First and foremost, do not print the assessment. You can and should complete this project entirely in the downloaded Word document on the file provided using your computer. I do not want a scanned copy or a picture of a printed assessment finished by hands. Okay? If you turn that in, you will not receive credit. Your job in this assessment is to basically assume the role of a gerrymandering politician. Imagine that your job is to draw districts and that you happen to be a member of the blue party. The grid below gives the location of 25 voters in a state. Each square is going to represent one voter. Your job is now to divide the state into 5 districts with 5 voters each. That means that you're going to want 5 separate groups of 5 squares each. In each district, the party with the most voters is going to win. So if you have a district of 5 squares and 3 of them are blue, then the blue squares will win. If 3 of the squares are red, then the red squares will win. You're the blue party. You want to minimize the number of districts in which the red squares win. In other words, you want to make sure that there are as few districts as possible in which 3 or more of the squares are red. Now, when you separate these 25 squares into 5 distinct districts or groups of 5, there are a couple of rules you need to follow. First, your districts need to be non-overlapping. What that means is that you could not, say, have District 1 start here in the top left and then go all the way down, and then come back to the top and say that District 2 is going to start from the left and go all the way to the right. That would create an overlap in which this top left square is a member of both District 1 and District 2. That's not allowed. The next rule is that the districts must be contiguous. If you've ever played Settlers of Catan, you already know what that term means, but for the rest of you, I'm going to go ahead and explain that to you. To say that a district is contiguous is to say that you can draw a single uninterrupted boundary around the district. Or, for our purposes here, it is to say that every square in any one of your groups must share an entire side with at least one other square in that group. So I could not say District 1 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go, oh, I'm going to lose this one and jump down here and add in this blue square. This bottom right blue square does not share at least one side with at least one of the other squares in that district, and so they can't go together. Neither could I go diagonally. I could not say that District 1 will be here, 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 and then, oh, I don't want that or I'll lose. I'm going to jump down here. Sharing a corner is not sufficient. You have to share an entire side or the district is not valid. So again, you need 5 groups of 5 squares each, and you need to make sure that those groups do not overlap or include even one square that does not share at least one side with one other square in the group. Your job then is to complete this process of dividing the 25 squares into 5 groups of 5 squares each in such a way that the blue party wins more districts than the red party. In other words, in at least 3 of your 5 groups of 5 squares, you need to make sure that 3 of the 5 squares are blue. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that in order to succeed, you're going to have to utilize both cracking and packing. What that means is that you are not going to gain all 5 districts. If you count, you'll find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blue squares. That means of the 25 squares, 16 are red. There is no way you will win every district. You're going to lose at least 1 or 2. So make sure that you keep that in mind as you strategize and try to solve this puzzle. Now, the next big question that you might have for me is, how do I mark down my answers? Well, that's what this arrow right here is going to be for. You can move this arrow using your mouse simply by left-clicking and then dragging it where you want to go. You can also manipulate the shape of the arrow by using these circles located at various joints. So, for example, I could take this arrow and I could drag it down, or I could click here and I could pull this part of the arrow forward so that I can include these 5 squares in my district. Alternatively, I could try to straighten it out and include these 5 squares in a district. Either way, I have indicated that these 5 squares together constitute a single district. Now, of course, you will notice that if I do decide to divide these 5 squares into a district, that I will lose that district. It's going to go to the red party. So maybe instead of taking that approach, I will want to do something more like this. Drag that back there. Pull this in. And there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is one district for the blue squares. Now, the next question you might have is, well, once I've used the arrow, how do I designate what my other 5 districts are going to be? Well, simply left click the line and push Control C, that's the keyboard shortcut for copy, and then Control V, that's the keyboard shortcut for paste. And now, lo and behold, you've got a whole new arrow. Rinse and repeat, shaping the arrows as needed until you have again created 5 separate groups of 5 squares each. Again, if you look at this, I will now have 2 separate districts that I've identified, and the blue squares are both going to win these districts. One problem that you might notice, however, is that I've isolated this red square such that it cannot be connected with any other square that does not already belong to a district. If you've done this, it's an indicator that you need to backtrack. You've trapped yourself. There is now no way to include this square in a non-overlapping contiguous district, and therefore you won't be able to create 5 equal groups of 5 squares each. Okay? So try not to corner yourself by isolating particular portions of the grid. Once you have found a way, and there are more than one solutions to this puzzle, right? Once you have found a way to divide this up appropriately, simply proceed to step 2 and use the available space to write 3 to 4 complete sentences explaining the use of cracking and packing in the way that you resolve this puzzle. I will remind you, these do need to be complete sentences with full thoughts, proper spelling, and grammar. And this will be a part of what you're graded on when you turn the assessment in. Once you're done, simply save the assessment using the file name, your surname, followed by the words assessment 6. Save that, attach it, submit, and you will receive credit for this week's assessment. All right, good luck, have fun. I hope that you enjoy this particularly engaging process, and I'll see you soon.